Hello neighbor, I'm Robert Burns and I am so thrilled that you have come by to visit our brand new website that we are launching on Tuesday, December the 8th of 2015. And that website URL is JBEfraud.com. That's JBEfraud.com. Now in this brief video I'm going to explain to you exactly what JBEfraud is and what it is not. And let me just start by saying that 8 years ago we were preparing to inaugurate a brand new governor by the name of Bobby Jindal. Mr. Jindal was being inaugurated and no one had any reason to believe that there would need to be a central tracking system because Mr. Jindal had touted himself as being Mr. Ethical, we're not going to tolerate any corruption. But as those who were more integrally involved with the Jindal administration, and that would include myself and as an appointee of his, whom he soon terminated, I might add, we quickly found out that his claims were a pure D 100% fraud, okay? They were nothing more than a fraud, but the problem was there were little people like myself were saying, can you believe he's done this? Can you believe he's done that? And there was no centralized mechanism for tracking Governor Jindal's actions, and so consequently it took quite a while for the average Joe Blow on the street to learn the true character of a one Bobby Jindal. Very similarly, we have an upcoming governor who's about to be inaugurated who ran on this West Point honor code, touting himself as Mr. Honest, Mr. Ethical, the whole 9 yards that you would typically expect of an incoming governor. And we're going to have this site to see if he holds true to that. And let me just say this, from everything I have been able to observe, and I believe I've been objective in this, I perceive John Bel Edwards, so that's the short for the JBE, John Bel Edwards, the soon-to-be governor of Louisiana, in about, I don't know, 25 days, whatever it is, 30 days, give or take, somewhere in there, governor of Louisiana. I am viewing him as a hurricane that is out there in the Gulf, okay? Now, as most of you would know, since we have experienced significant hurricanes, nothing good comes of them. I hope this may be a different situation, but nothing good comes of a hurricane, so we can view this JBEfraud website as sort of the preventive measures that you take prior to a hurricane making landfall. That is, boarding up windows, things of this nature. We're going to track Mr. Edwards and just see how all of this turns out, much as you would as an approaching hurricane that we know will be making landfall on, I believe it's January the 11th. That will begin when the official winds start to stir out there. So let me just say what this website is and what it is not. This will not be a macro-based website. Now what do I mean by that? This is not going to analyze John Bel Edwards' macro-level policies. He ran on a campaign platform, and we should all respect that. He won the election. Therefore, we would expect the Medicaid expansion, which is being plotted even as we begin. Not going to get involved in whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. That's a legitimate debate, and quite frankly, who knows who's right. That's not going to be the focus of this website. There are plenty of other websites that would devote to discussions of that nature, or blogs that would devote to discussions of that nature, but that's not going to be the purpose of this website. Likewise, he has made it clear he will propose legislation to increase Louisiana's minimum wage above that of the national average. That too, those are examples of the macro level policies that will not be the focus of this website, because legitimate arguments can be made by one side or the other about them, and it's a fundamental difference in beliefs. That doesn't mean that there may not be a very organized opposition to some of these initiatives that future Governor-elect Edwards intends to implement, but that's not going to be the focus of this website. Now, what is going to be the focus of this website? It's going to be a micro level. It will be instances in which we can pretty well document, or very well document, as in the initial post that's going to be made to this website, instances where John Bel Edwards has been recorded saying one thing and doing quite another once he gets into office. What I'm specifically talking about is the rampant cronyism, nepotism, and corruption that we saw so replete during the 8 years of Bobby Jindal. Unfortunately, early indications are that John Bel Edwards is only too happy to continue to perpetuate that cronyism and corruption going forward. Now, how much content will there be on this website? Because we're going to track things in reverse chronological order. That is to say, as soon as we get a new instance of this corruption or cronyism, we're going to add it to the website. How much of it is going to be there at the end of the 4 years that Mr. Edwards serves as governor? I don't know. That's going to be up to him. I do know one thing. When I've got evidence of it, I'm going to put it up there. So it's going to be a function of, and it would be my hope that this whole website would be devoid of any entries. Trust me, that would thrill my heart, and I don't mind 4 years from now if John Bel Edwards says, well, Robert Burns made a fool of himself, because that would mean that he didn't engage in that sort of thing, okay? I would be far happier for this website not to have any content, and I mean that sincerely. Just as I thought that's what we might be getting with Bobby Jindal. It didn't take long to find out otherwise. But we're gonna launch the website with the very first entry, and that is the impending reappointment of Mike Edmondson as Louisiana State Police Colonel. Now, I'm going to save that content for the very first entry that's on the website. This is just your introduction. So I'm not going to comment any further about this impending appointment of Mike Edmondson, because that's going to be a completely separate post as the first entry on the website. But I think once you've looked at that post, you're going to say that's awfully compelling evidence that Mr. John Bel Edwards, that it's a whole different story when he's in office versus when it was Bobby Jindal in office. So that's all I'll say on the initial launch, the Edmondson situation. But let me just say this. There will be another purpose to this website as well, beyond the tracking of the cronyism and the corruption. And that will be for us to monitor key votes of the legislature. As anyone would well know, enacting a law requires passage through both branches of our legislative branch, the House of Representatives and the Senate. We're not going to track all of the votes, but we are. And I believe that JBEfraud, who does an outstanding job posting votes, and by the way, he has nothing to do with what I'm doing here. This is just me. But I do know that he puts up votes, critical votes, up on his website, Fragotston.com. I'll give a little free plug there for Mr. Fragotston. And it will be my intent to gather those, and we're going to have a web page devoted to key votes so that you can go in and see exactly how your legislator voted on some of these key measures, and that is particularly the case with any proposed tax increases. Okay? I'll just say this, and there may be some video of Mr. Edwards to throw back on that. You know, if we're talking about a tax increase, you can darn well book it. It will be on that page for you to see how your legislator voted. Because I believe we have an obligation to hold these folks accountable when we have the kind of rampant, wasteful government spending that has been harped on over and over again by John Kennedy, the treasurer of this state. And if those type things aren't remedied, and yet, let's just have another tax increase, people need to be held accountable for that, and that's what we intend to do. Now, I'm going to wrap this video up. I think you're going to be very pleased with the JBEfraud website. I hope you like our logo that we have had designed for the website. But let me just say, this cannot be a solo effort. So if you have knowledge of an instance where John Bel Edwards has governed differently than what he stated would be the case, whether it have been in the campaign or once he subsequently takes office. If he actually does a flip-flop or whatever the case, shows corruption, cronyism, nepotism, please notify me of it. all you've got to do is send an email to robert@auctionsellsfast.com. That email address is provided on your screen right now. That's all you've got to do. Now, bear in mind, we're going to need to substantiate it. As you'll see on this first entry, I substantiate what I say about the Edmondson appointment. All right, but that's all you've got to do. Robert@auctionsellsfast.com, and tell us what the situation is and how Governor Edwards has deviated from what he has said he would do. And as I said, hopefully this website won't have any entries on it by the time that 4 years is up. But if that's not the case, make no mistake, we are going to expose it. Thanks again for you tuning into this brand new website, JBEfraud.com. Don't forget to go out and tell all of your neighbors and friends, and let's hold Governor-elect John Bel Edwards accountable to the people of the state of Louisiana. Thank you once again. Look forward to addressing you with future entries, if they need be, beyond the very first one entailing Mike Edmondson. Once again, it's Robert Burns. That website URL, JBEfraud.com. Thank you so much.